Well, good evening, YouTube. This is the old soldier coming back at you. Like I said in the week, we're going to do a review tonight on one of my firearms. So which one are we going to talk about? 'Cause I got quite a few. Well, I've kind of got a historical piece, and I want to kind of cover the history behind it as well as how I acquired it, what I think of it. Might even do a video here in the near future out on the range. But what I want to show you tonight is a Smith & Wesson 38 Victory model. Chamber's empty, cylinders are empty, gun's clear. It is a single action or double action revolver. The history behind this particular piece, at the end of the Spanish-American War, or the end of the Indian Wars, the U.S. Army was using a .45 caliber round. Well, after Spanish-American War, we got involved in what was called the Philippine Insurrection. And, of course, you know, there's always some yahoo in the Army brass that has a great idea how to save money and all kinds of stuff, and they decided they were going to go with a 38 caliber bullet opposed to a 45 as a standard bullet for the Army. This is what they came up with. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a 38 Smith & Wesson. Not 38 Special, but 38 Smith & Wesson. Give you a comparison, this is a 9mm by 19, or your standard 9mm you see nowadays. As you can see right here, bear with me, I'm working with a new camera again. The 38 Smith & Wesson is not much longer than the 9mm, okay? And it's not really much more bigger in diameter. However, and these, by the way, are 158 grain bullets. Smith & Wesson. I want to say in the time the military went to them, they were firing a 200 grain bullet. Either way it goes, it didn't have the stopping power. The Maori warriors in the Philippines, well, like a lot of warriors at the time, they'd get doped up on opium and other drugs that they can't feel pain. Long story short, the 38s weren't stopping them. So a lot of these went back in the inventory, went to police departments, this kind of thing. Long story short, the British were using a similar round in some of their handguns. So let's jump ahead to about World War II. Great Britain and its Commonwealth nations, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, they were all involved in World War II before we got involved. They were in a critical shortage for guns, so we started sending a lot of this particular model of Smith & Wesson Victory models over on Lend-Lease. Now, what denotes this as a Victory model? I'm glad you asked. On the butt of the weapon is the serial number, which right here, and then out to the side you have the V for Victory. That's how they were stamped under Lend-Lease. Now, this particular one has the U.S. property stamped on the top. Trying to see if there's any other significant markings here that make this stand out anymore, which I've got to do some more research on it too. Either way it goes, I've got one date stamp here of 6 September 1914 and another one of 29 December 1914. So the pistol's old. Okay, this particular pistol's old. I've shot it several times. Well-made gun. Smith & Wesson back then as of today makes a quality product. We've got the wood hand grips. You can see the Smith & Wesson logo on both sides. This right here, for those that know anything about military pistols, this is a lanyard holder. You'd clip a lanyard onto this, and in British fashion, British carried that lanyard over around their neck. So in the event something happened, they dropped their pistol, they didn't lose it. Okay? And again, like I said, this is a 6-shot revolver. Single action, double action. And that's pretty much the history behind this particular firearm. A lot of these were brought back after World War II under various auspices. A lot of them wound up in security work. A lot of them wound up in local police departments as training firearms. At one time, the .38 Smith & Wesson was a common round, not so much anymore. Most of the ammunition I have to buy now, I either have to find it, I have to find it from various sources. But let's look at this bullet again. I mean, it's just a soft-nosed lead round. This one's in particular is in a steel casing, as opposed to a brass or copper, kind of modern. But look at the shape of the bullet compared to the 9mm. And this is more rounded, whereas the 9mm has a pointed round. But this 9mm, I guarantee you, has a lot more velocity than this .38 Smith & Wesson. That's one reason so many nations around the world went to the 9mm. But again, this is a great little pistol to shoot for target practice, plinking around, that kind of thing. It has very little to, if any, recoil. In order to load it, you've got your takedown latch right here. You push that forward, pretty much like all Smith & Wesson model revolvers. Drop the cylinder out. You drop your 6 rounds in, close it back up. And what denotes this from a Colt revolver of similar design is, if you notice the Smith & Wesson, the cylinder rod, it has a detent up here that's caught onto this little piece under the barrel. Most Colt models of the era of similar shape, the cylinder rod just was kind of exposed. It kind of hung out there, had nothing to protect it, nothing to guard it. That's just a little minute difference. It has a blade front sight. You can see right here, gives you a little channel that acts kind of like a rear sight with a notch right about there. Like I said, working with a new camera. But you can see that rear sight notch. Again, very comfortable. I consider it an elegant gun to hold and shoot. Like I said, I got it. Now, where did I got it? I got it at Gander Mountain years ago before I can't say they went out of business. They reorganized. Camping World bought them out under Gander Outdoors or something like that. But I caught it in their used gun cabinet one day, and I'd always wanted something like this type of piece, this classic type of firearm with its clean. The other thing too I like about it, it's just got that clean, smooth line, silhouette. It's very distinguishable as an American-made firearm, quality made, quality built. And again, any Smith & Wesson product, my personal opinion now, I'm not an expert on this, but my personal opinion, I've never had a Smith & Wesson firearm that was not of quality, nor have I handled one that was not of quality. But this is a well-built American-made pistol. You can even see Smith & Wesson's factory stamp right there. Okay, or proof mark, I guess what they call them. Like I said, I'm still learning about a lot of the little ins and outs of how manufacturers mark their guns and that kind of thing. And we'll continue to try and get better. But I wanted to share this one with you because this one to me has got a little bit of history with it based on probably where it's been. I've yet to trace the serial number to find out who and what had it. I think Smith & Wesson offers a service where you can trace the serial number and they can tell you what country had it, that kind of thing, which I plan to do one day. I don't know, I might do a later video on that and tell you the history of it. And see where we go from there. But anyway, that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Smith & Wesson .38 Smith & Wesson Victory model. Again, you've probably seen these in the hands of policemen, military personnel, up to and maybe just past World War II. Again, a lot of these pistols were also regulated to what we call second line service. In other words, frontline troops probably wouldn't have been issued them, but let's say units stateside might have been issued them for practice and training, that kind of thing. I know at one time pilots were issued these because they needed a firearm they could get in the event they had to bail out or eject that they could operate one-handed. That's why a lot of pilots, if you see up into the 80s, a lot of pilots had revolvers for that purpose. They could draw it, aim, squeeze, fire. And when you're sitting in a parachute harness hung up in a tree, you know, you might not have two hands to work with, that kind of thing. So a lot of these were also issued to pilots. I should have brought out my shoulder holster I got for it. I got a reproduction shoulder holster for this thing through, what was the name of the company? Men at Arms series, I think is the name of the company, Men at Arms. If I can find their link, I'll post a link to their website down in the description below. They make a lot of quality World War II reproduction gear. Another company that might have a holster for this type, which they have several types, is What Price Glory. Makes a lot of World War II and World War I reproduction gear. And again, if you're wanting to do that, this is one of these pistols would be great for that if you're wanting to portray an aviator. Like I said, I've got a shoulder holster that's got the pistol loops that a pilot would have wore. Pistol slides right in, fits right in. So beautiful, beautiful piece of leather work. But again, if you got questions, comments, if I got a fact wrong, put it down in the comment section below. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. I'm not one of these who's going to argue. If I'm wrong about something, hey, I'll admit I'm wrong. I just need you to comment, need you to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get bigger and better things coming along here in the near future. Like I said, I want to start doing some range videos, guys and gals, with some of my firearms I own. Next Saturday, I'm going to do a video on some of my uniforms. I had a young lady comment on my channel. She thinks the old soldiers are wonderful, and she wants to see a video of my uniforms. I think I know the young lady. She said yes 27 years ago on the 14th of February to be my wife. So might introduce you to Mrs. Old Soldier here in the near future. But anyway, she's over there sitting there watching TV ignoring me right now. I don't blame her, but anyway. But yeah, post your comments down below. Check out my book, Thoughts of an Old Soldier. It's available on Amazon. It's $15. If you want to get that thing signed, email me at rantsofanoldsoldier@gmail.com. I'll post that link below down as well. I've got some t-shirts that I've done up through viralstyle.com. I'll put those links as well in the bottom. Again, I'd like to put a plug out to my friends over at Money Quick Pawn on Rayford Road in Fayetteville, to Ethan and his folks over there. That's my go-to gun store here in town, folks, for all my firearm needs, ammunition, you name it. If they don't have it, they know where to get it from, and if they can't get it, they'll let me know. But they're great people. They will work with you, and just go check them out. Like I said, Money Quick Pawn on Rayford Road. If you're looking for a firearm, ask for Ethan. This guy is top notch, and he's on top of his game, knowing about firearms. So with that being said, I'll close like I always do. If you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, please come to know Him. Accept Him into your heart. Ask Him to forgive you of your sins. Help Him to change your life. He's changed mine. I wouldn't be here today without His help, without His guidance. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And if you don't know what He can do for you, email me at rantsofanoldsoldier@gmail.com. I'll be glad to share with you my personal testimony one-on-one. Especially if you're struggling out there, folks. If you're in a dark place in your life, He's there. Just open your heart. And with that being said, God bless to one and all. Old Soldier out.